This is Jake Pazicki with an ACT Science conflicting viewpoints question. Now, this is one of those questions where they give you a hypothetical situation and they ask you how the findings of that hypothetical situation would impact the viewpoints of researcher 1, researcher 2, both of them, or neither of them. In this case, we're wondering if it would support both of them, one of them, or neither of them. So the first is to make sure you understand this is a tough question because you have to understand what the new hypothetical study is presenting, and you have to understand each of the researchers' views. So it's kind of a difficult question, but it's a good one. So here we go. Suppose that scientists held a study where they found animals responded to puzzles with varying levels of confidence. If you've read researchers 1's perspective, this should ring a bell because it talks about confidence here. Confident about the response. And that those levels of confidence were derivative of an instinctual mechanism as opposed to an animal's awareness of its thought process. So that's the big one right there. So as opposed to an animal's awareness of its thought process. And that should ring a bell over here. If you read researcher 2's perspective, we're talking about surprise and how surprise is a first order phenomenon that is a mechanism. Let's make that a little nicer. That is a mechanism that implies a discrepancy between creatures' judgments and does not necessitate that an animal is aware of its judgments. So that should ring a bell with this. So we're going to look at this findings that there was animals responded with something to a puzzle with varying levels of confidence, but it was an instinctual mechanism, not an awareness of a thought process. How would that finding impact researcher 1 or researcher 2's argument? Which one would it make stronger? And so if we understand researcher 1's perspective, we can see that researcher 1 cites this ability to understand how confident an animal is in its choices, and how. So here, this just shows that these animals are aware of the strength of their own beliefs and opinions, something that is only possible in animals with metacognitive processes. So researcher 1 cites this levels of confidence as something that shows that animals are aware of their own thought processes. So findings that varying levels of confidence do not require an awareness of one's own thought process, that definitely does not support researcher 1's. It actually contradicts researcher 1's opinion and perspective. So it does not support researcher 1. It does, however, support researcher 2. We can see that researcher 2 is actually arguing the same thing, that there is not enough evidence to support the presence of metacognition in animals. If you're not sure what metacognition is, go over here. It's defined in the very first paragraph here. It's the awareness of one's own thought process. And that anytime up to now where researchers have thought that they could show awareness, it was really just a mechanism, not necessarily an awareness of one's own thought process, which is exactly what these findings show. So researcher 2's, it does support that. It does not support both because it doesn't support researcher 1's perspective, and it does support researcher 2's. So this answer choice D is wrong too. The only correct answer is answer choice